December 1944. In the snow-choked Ardennes, General Joseph Collins confronted a desperate German offensive. The Allied front teetered on collapse, threatening to prolong a brutal war. But in that frozen crucible, Collins's audacious counter-moves would not only stem the tide, but redefine the battle's brutal trajectory, earning the respect of even his most formidable adversaries. To understand how it happened, we must go back to a world engulfed in the most devastating conflict humanity had ever witnessed. The Second World War, a global conflagration ignited by ideological extremism and territorial ambition, had by 1944 reached a critical juncture. After years of brutal fighting on multiple fronts, from the deserts of North Africa to the vast plains of Russia and the islands of the Pacific, the tide had definitively turned against the Axis powers. Yet the German war machine, though battered and facing immense pressure from both East and West, remained a formidable and dangerous opponent. Its capacity for innovation, its deeply ingrained military discipline, and the fanatical resolve of its leadership meant it was still capable of launching desperate, powerful counteroffensives. The sheer scale and complexity of this global conflict demanded leaders of extraordinary caliber, individuals who could not only grasp the intricate logistics and strategic nuances of modern warfare, but also inspire their troops to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The United States, having entered the war later than many European powers, found itself rapidly building and deploying massive armies, and in urgent need of such figures to guide its burgeoning forces to victory. The pressure on these commanders was immense, as the fate of nations rested on their decisions. The specific situation in late 1944 was one of cautious optimism, tempered by the grim realities and unforeseen challenges of prolonged warfare. Following the monumental success of the D-Day landings in June and the subsequent rapid breakout from Normandy in August, Allied armies had swept across France with remarkable speed and enthusiasm. Paris was liberated, and the Allied High Command, buoyed by these swift victories, harbored genuine hopes of ending the war in Europe by Christmas. However, as the front lines stretched further eastward, logistical challenges mounted exponentially. Supply lines became dangerously thin, struggling to keep pace with the rapid advance, and the German resistance, fighting on its own soil, stiffened considerably as the Allies approached the Reich's western borders. The Siegfried Line, a formidable network of bunkers, anti-tank obstacles and pillboxes stretching for hundreds of miles, presented a new, bloody, and unexpected obstacle. The Allied advance, which had seemed unstoppable, slowed dramatically, bogged down by fierce German defenses, the onset of a brutally cold and snowy winter, and the sheer exhaustion of continuous combat. It was in this environment of grinding attrition, where every meter gained came at a high cost, that the German High Command, under Hitler's direct and often irrational influence, conceived a daring, high-risk plan. This plan involved a massive surprise attack through the Ardennes forest, a region previously considered impassable for large armored formations, aiming to split the Allied lines, capture the vital port of Antwerp, and force a separate peace with the Western Allies. This audacious gamble would become known as the Battle of the Bulge, a moment that would test the mettle, ingenuity, and resilience of every soldier and commander on the Western Front to their absolute limits. Into this maelstrom of strategic uncertainty and brutal combat stepped Major General Joseph Lawton Collins, a man whose name would become synonymous with aggressive, decisive leadership and an almost uncanny ability to turn the tide of battle. Born in New Orleans in 1896, Collins was a career soldier through and through, a distinguished graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, and a veteran who had served with distinction in both World War I and the challenging interwar period. He was not a flamboyant figure who sought public adoration, nor did he possess the theatrical flair of some of his more famous contemporaries. Instead, he was a meticulous planner, a keen and analytical strategist, and a commander who deeply understood the critical importance of speed, initiative, and maintaining relentless pressure on the enemy. His troops knew him affectionately as Lightning Joe, a nickname earned not for grandstanding or dramatic gestures, but for the relentless pace, efficiency, and sheer effectiveness of his military operations. He possessed a rare and potent combination of intellectual rigor, allowing him to dissect complex tactical problems, and extensive practical combat experience, which enabled him to adapt quickly to rapidly changing battlefield conditions and make bold, often unconventional decisions under immense pressure. Collins was a commander who believed in leading from the front, inspiring confidence and loyalty through his calm demeanor, his clear directives, and his unwavering resolve, qualities that would prove absolutely indispensable in the desperate and pivotal fighting that lay ahead in the final stages of the war. Joseph Lawton Collins's journey to becoming the legendary Lightning Joe began far from the muddy, blood-soaked battlefields of Europe, rooted instead in a disciplined upbringing and a rigorous military education that shaped his character and intellect. Born into a large, devout Irish Catholic family in New Orleans, Louisiana, in 1896, Collins was instilled with strong values of duty, hard work, and dedicated service from an early age. His father, a superintendent of a local sugar refinery, provided a stable, though not overly affluent, environment that emphasized education, moral rectitude, and a strong sense of community. Young Joseph quickly distinguished himself academically, demonstrating a sharp intellect, a methodical approach to problem-solving, and a natural aptitude for leadership. These innate traits, combined with a burgeoning sense of purpose, led him to pursue a military career, a path that promised both intellectual challenge and an opportunity for service. In 1913, he secured a coveted appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point, widely regarded as one of the nation's most prestigious institutions for developing military leaders. West Point proved to be a profound crucible for Collins, a demanding environment that not only shaped his character, but also meticulously honed his strategic mind. The Academy's rigorous curriculum, which seamlessly blended engineering, history, and military tactics with a strict regimen of physical training and unwavering discipline, suited his temperament perfectly. He absorbed the fundamental principles of warfare, the critical importance of logistics and supply chains, and the complex psychology of command. Graduating in 1917, precisely as the United States was making its momentous entry into World War I, Collins was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the infantry. Though he did not see direct combat in the trenches of Europe during the Great War, his subsequent service in the American occupation forces in Germany provided him with invaluable first-hand experience of European culture, military structures, and the aftermath of large-scale conflict, an understanding that would prove profoundly beneficial decades later. The interwar years saw Collins steadily and methodically rise through the ranks, attending advanced military schools, serving as an esteemed instructor at West Point, and holding various command and staff positions. He meticulously studied military history, particularly the campaigns of Napoleon and the American Civil War, always seeking to understand the dynamics of decisive action, rapid maneuver, and the art of achieving victory against formidable odds. His pre-World War II experiences further solidified his reputation as a rising star within the U.S. Army, marking him as a commander of exceptional promise. Collins served a significant tour in the Philippines, gaining invaluable experience in jungle warfare and counterinsurgency operations, skills that would prove surprisingly relevant in the brutal Pacific theater. He commanded a battalion at the renowned Fort Benning, Georgia, where he played a key role in developing new infantry tactics and innovative training methods for a modern army. During this period, he became widely known for his insistence on aggressive, realistic training, emphasizing physical fitness, precision marksmanship, and the crucial ability of small units to operate effectively and independently. He firmly believed in empowering junior leaders and fostering a culture of initiative and adaptability throughout the ranks. When the United States was tragically drawn into World War II following the attack on Pearl Harbor, Collins was already a brigadier general, perfectly positioned for significant command responsibilities. His first major combat assignment came in the Pacific, where he commanded the 25th Infantry Division, famously known as the Tropic Lightning Division, during the brutal and unforgiving Guadalcanal campaign. It was there, amidst the oppressive jungle terrain, the debilitating heat and disease, and the fierce, fanatical Japanese resistance, that he earned his enduring and fitting nickname, Lightning Joe. His division's rapid advances, daring flanking maneuvers and relentless pressure on the enemy, often executed with audacious speed, stood in stark contrast to the slower, more attritional tactics often employed in the Pacific. This intense combat experience, though geographically distant from Europe, instilled in him a profound understanding of combat's psychological toll, the critical need for speed to break enemy will, and the importance of adapting tactics to the specific environment. The transition from the Pacific to the European theatre was a testament to Collins's exceptional versatility, his proven combat record, and the high regard in which the Army's top leadership held him. Recognizing his extraordinary combat leadership and his ability to achieve results under the most difficult conditions, General George C. Marshall, the highly respected Army Chief of Staff, personally selected Collins to command the 7th Corps in the European Theatre of Operations. This was a pivotal and immensely important assignment, placing him at the helm of a powerful and crucial formation that would play a central role in the Allied invasion of France. Collins arrived in England in early 1944, bringing with him the hard-won lessons of Guadalcanal, the paramount importance of aggressive reconnaissance, the rapid exploitation of breakthroughs, and the absolute necessity of maintaining momentum at all costs. He quickly integrated himself into the meticulous planning for Operation Overlord, the D-Day landings, and immediately began shaping 7th Corps into a formidable spearhead unit. His command style, characterized by direct and unambiguous communication, clear and achievable objectives, and a calculated willingness to take calculated risks, quickly earned the deep respect of his new staff and the thousands of soldiers under his command. He understood implicitly that the European battlefield, with its different terrain, climate, and a highly professional and resilient enemy, would demand new adaptations and tactical adjustments. However, the core principles of Lightning Joe, speed, aggression, decisive action, and unwavering determination, remained his guiding philosophy, principles he was prepared to apply with ruthless efficiency. By the summer of 1944, General Collins and his 7th Corps were positioned at the very forefront of the Allied advance in France, facing a strategic dilemma that threatened to completely bog down the entire invasion and potentially derail the Allied timetable. After the initial exhilarating success of the D-Day landings and the establishment of a secure beachhead, the Allied forces found themselves unexpectedly trapped and entangled in the Norman bocage. This unique landscape, characterized by dense ancient hedgerows, sunken roads, and small irregular fields, transformed every single patch of ground into a natural fortified German position. This terrain effectively negated the Allied advantage in armor and air power, turning the advance into a slow, costly, and frustrating grind. Casualties mounted at an alarming rate, and frustration grew exponentially among the Allied high command, who had anticipated a much swifter push. The Germans, masters of defensive warfare, exploited the bocage to their full advantage, creating a seemingly impenetrable barrier that bled the Allied forces dry. The dilemma for Collins was stark and clear: how to break this agonizing deadlock, how to restore the vital momentum of the offensive, and how to prevent the entire invasion from devolving into a prolonged and devastating war of attrition. The rules of engagement seemed to overwhelmingly favor the defender, with every hedgerow representing a potential ambush, every village a meticulously prepared fortress. Collins knew instinctively that a conventional frontal assault, pushing directly into these defenses, would be prohibitively expensive in terms of lives and precious time. A new innovative approach was desperately needed, one that could decisively shatter the German defenses and unleash the full, overwhelming power of the Allied mechanized forces. The moment of decision, a pivotal point in the Normandy campaign, arrived with the meticulous planning for Operation Cobra, the audacious Allied breakout from the bocage. General Omar Bradley, the highly respected commander of the 12th Army Group, recognized Collins's aggressive spirit and tactical acumen, and thus entrusted him and his 7th Corps with the primary spearhead role in this critical operation. The core idea behind Cobra was revolutionary: to use a massive, concentrated aerial bombardment to blast a colossal hole in the German lines, creating a wide corridor through which powerful armored divisions could then pour, bypassing the hedgerows entirely. Collins, however, was not content to simply execute the plan as handed down. He meticulously studied every aspect of the terrain, analyzed the known German dispositions, and assessed the precise capabilities of his own forces. He understood the inherent risks in such a concentrated bombing effort, particularly the ever-present danger of friendly fire, which had plagued previous close air support missions. His decision was not merely to execute Cobra, but to refine it, to optimize it for maximum effectiveness and minimal friendly casualties. He insisted on a narrow, deep bombing corridor to concentrate the destructive power, minimize collateral damage, and maximize the shock effect on the German defenders. Crucially, he positioned his armored divisions directly behind the infantry, poised and ready to exploit any breach instantly, without a moment's delay. This aggressive, forward-thinking posture, combined with his detailed and precise planning, demonstrated his unwavering commitment to speed and decisive action, even in the face of immense strategic pressure and the potential for catastrophic failure. On July 25, 1944, Operation Cobra commenced with an unprecedented and terrifying aerial bombardment. Thousands of Allied bombers, flying in wave after wave, unleashed a torrent of high explosives and incendiary bombs on a narrow, pre-designated strip of German defenses near Saint-Lô. The very ground shook violently, and the air filled with a deafening roar, thick smoke and flying debris, creating a landscape of utter devastation. Despite some tragic friendly fire incidents, which Collins himself witnessed with profound regret, the bombing achieved its primary objective. It shattered the German front lines, pulverizing their defenses and creating a clear, though still dangerous, path for the 7th Corps. Collins, without hesitation, immediately unleashed his armored divisions. The veteran 2nd Armored Division and the formidable 1st Infantry Division, operating under his direct and dynamic command, surged forward, exploiting the breach with astonishing speed and ferocity. Tanks rumbled relentlessly through the devastated landscape, bypassing isolated pockets of resistance, while highly trained infantry followed closely, systematically mopping up any bypassed enemy positions. Collins was constantly at the very front of the advance, pushing his commanders, demanding relentless pursuit, and personally assessing the rapidly evolving situation. He understood that speed was absolutely paramount. The Germans could not be allowed a single moment to regroup, reorganize, or establish new defensive lines. His corps advanced dozens of miles in mere days, a pace previously unheard of in the restrictive hedgerow country. German units, reeling from the shock of the bombardment and the unexpected speed and aggression of the American advance, found themselves outflanked, encircled, and utterly overwhelmed. The Lightning Joe moniker was never more apt as 7th Corps tore through the German lines, creating a gaping, irreparable hole in their defenses and opening the way for the sweeping Allied advance across France. The immediate result of Operation Cobra was a resounding and unequivocal success that fundamentally altered the course of the war in Western Europe. Collins's 7th Corps had not only broken the agonizing stalemate of the bocage, but had utterly shattered the German front, unleashing a torrent of Allied forces into the French interior. The German 7th Army was effectively destroyed as a cohesive fighting force, and the path to Paris and beyond lay wide open, signaling a dramatic shift in the strategic landscape. The repercussions of Operation Cobra, spearheaded with such decisive force by Collins's 7th Corps, were immense and far-reaching, reverberating across the entire Western Front. The breakout from Normandy transformed the static, attritional warfare of the bocage into a dynamic war of rapid maneuver, a style that heavily favored the Allied numerical superiority, overwhelming air power, and technological advantages. Within weeks of Cobra's success, Allied forces swept across France with unprecedented speed, liberating Paris to jubilant crowds and pushing relentlessly towards the German border. Collins's aggressive tactics, his unwavering insistence on speed, and his ability to maintain relentless pressure were instrumental in this rapid and decisive advance. His corps consistently outpaced other Allied units, often covering ground that many commanders initially deemed impossible or too risky. This relentless momentum prevented the Germans from establishing new, coherent defensive lines, forcing them into a continuous, disorganized retreat. The German High Command, particularly those generals who directly faced Collins's Seventh Corps, developed a grudging yet undeniable respect for Lightning Joe. They recognized his uncanny ability to identify and exploit weaknesses in their defenses, his calculated willingness to take significant risks, and the sheer unstoppable momentum he instilled in his troops. Field Marshal Günther von Kluge, commander of Army Group B, reportedly expressed profound frustration at the American pace and Collins's almost prescient ability to anticipate German reactions and counter-moves. This respect was born not of admiration for an enemy, but from the stark recognition of a formidable and highly effective adversary whose innovative methods were proving devastatingly effective against even the most entrenched German positions. Collins's historical impact extends far beyond the triumph of Operation Cobra, cementing his place as one of the most crucial commanders of the war. His Seventh Corps played an absolutely crucial role in the Battle of the Bulge, the desperate and massive German counter-offensive launched in December 1944. When the German attack, shrouded in winter fog and snow, threatened to split the Allied lines and achieve a decisive breakthrough, Collins quickly and expertly shifted his corps to the Ardennes, forming the critical northern shoulder of the Bulge. His rapid deployment, often under extremely difficult conditions, and his aggressive, well-coordinated counterattacks were vital in containing the German advance and eventually pushing them back. He understood that the key to defeating the Bulge was not just holding ground defensively, but striking back with overwhelming force and speed to regain the initiative. His decisive leadership during this critical period prevented a potential disaster for the Allies and helped turn the tide of the battle, ultimately leading to the German defeat in the Ardennes. Later, in the final relentless push into Germany itself, Collins's Seventh Corps was once again at the forefront, executing daring river crossings, including the crucial crossing of the Rhine, and driving deep into the heart of the Reich. His forces captured key industrial centers, liberated concentration camps, and ultimately linked up with Soviet forces, symbolizing the final collapse of Nazi Germany. His consistent, exceptional performance across such diverse and challenging battlefields, from the suffocating jungles of Guadalcanal to the intricate hedgerows of Normandy, the frozen forests of the Ardennes, and the industrial heartland of Germany, solidified his reputation as one of America's most effective and respected combat commanders of World War II. He embodied the aggressive, decisive, and adaptable leadership that characterized the most successful Allied operations and ultimately contributed to victory. After the conclusion of World War II, Joseph Collins continued his distinguished and impactful military career, demonstrating his commitment to service beyond the battlefield. He served with distinction as the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Army, where he played a significant role in the post-war reorganization and demobilization efforts. His leadership qualities were further recognized when he was appointed the Chief of Staff of the United States Army in 1949, a critical period that included the outbreak and duration of the Korean War. In this immensely challenging role, he was instrumental in modernizing the Army, adapting its doctrine and structure to the new realities of the Cold War, and overseeing its deployment and operations in Korea. He championed technological advancements and strategic planning, ensuring the Army remained a formidable force in a rapidly changing global landscape. He retired from active duty in 1956 as a four-star general, having served his country with unwavering dedication for nearly 4 decades. Even in retirement, he remained an influential figure, frequently advising on military matters, contributing to historical accounts of the war, and sharing his invaluable experiences with future generations of military leaders. General Collins passed away peacefully in 1987 at the age of 91, leaving behind a profound legacy of exceptional leadership, strategic brilliance, and unwavering dedication to the principles of duty, honor, and country. The story of Lightning Joe Joseph Collins is more than just a chronicle of military victories and tactical brilliance. It is a profound testament to the enduring power of decisive leadership, relentless determination, and the human spirit's capacity to overcome immense adversity. His remarkable ability to inspire his troops to adapt swiftly and effectively to the most challenging and unpredictable circumstances, and to execute complex military operations with both speed and precision made him a truly formidable force on every battlefield he commanded. He reminds us that true strength in conflict comes not just from overwhelming numbers or superior technology, but from the ingenuity, the unwavering courage, and the indomitable will of those who lead and those who follow. His legacy continues to resonate deeply, serving as a powerful and inspiring example of how a single individual, tempered by experience, honed by rigorous training, and ignited by a clear sense of purpose, can profoundly shape the course of history and leave an indelible mark on the world.